All right, fellow audiophiles, welcome. Today, we are not just listening to a band. Oh no. We are donning our brass goggles, we're firing up the oscilloscopes, and we are unlocking the actual blueprints of a true sonic architect. We're about to deconstruct the magnificent, gear-driven cathedral of sound that is the Electric Light Orchestra. So grab your sonic screwdrivers, because we're about to void the warranty on rock and roll history.
So, at the heart of this grand machine is one man, Jeff Lynne. And as he says right here, his first designs, they were a little overwrought. His big quest wasn't just to build something massive. It was to build something that actually connected with people. And with Telephone Line, he found the ghost in the machine, that human emotion that could power his incredible creations. This is our starting point.
Here are the schematics for today's investigation. First, we're going to examine the Grand Formula itself. Then we'll dissect one of their biggest hits, piece by piece. We'll explore its genre-fusing mechanics, peek inside the engine room, diagnose a really curious sonic side effect, and finally, just appreciate this machine's enduring, powerful legacy.
So what was the audacious goal here? I mean, what was Jeff Lynne actually trying to build when he and Roy Wood first fired up the workshop way back in 1970? Well, the mission statement was as simple as it was revolutionary. A complete and total fusion. This wasn't just rock music with a few strings tacked on as an afterthought. No. This was a seamless integration of pop melody, rock power, and classical grandeur. The whole idea was to pick up where the Beatles left off with a song like I Am the Walrus and then build an entire sonic world out of it.
And every grand machine has its core components, right? The rock engine was driven by Lynne's incredible songwriting and Bev Bevan's powerful, precise drumming. The orchestral layer, and this is really the heart of the whole ELO concept, was a full string section, often conducted by the brilliant Louis Clark. And then, bringing the sound of the future, was Richard Tandy, whose synthesizers provided all the futuristic chrome and circuitry that made it all just gleam.
Okay, so to really understand how these parts work together, we need to pop the hood on one of their most finely tuned creations. It's time to dissect the intricate, beautiful clockwork of Telephone Line.
This song is a masterclass in telling a story with sound. It kicks off with that iconic synth ring, which, by the way, was tuned to an actual American dial tone. Then, Lynne's voice comes in, but it's trapped in mono, so it sounds small and distant, just like it's coming through an earpiece. But then, and here's the genius moment, the sound just explodes into full, lush stereo on the word lonely, making that feeling of isolation feel paradoxically enormous. Then you get this nostalgic doo-wop bridge for a bit of timeless heartache, and that ringing phone keeps coming back, reminding you this entire symphony of sadness is happening in that space between dialing and someone picking up. The key takeaway here is that ELO used studio tech not just for cool sounds, but for storytelling.
All right, now let's turn our attention to another gear in this magnificent machine. Let's talk about the track Showdown, because this is where the fusion of parts gets even more daring. Here, Lynne isn't just bolting rock and classical together, he's throwing funk into the furnace, too.
So the crucial point here is how these completely incompatible elements somehow combine perfectly. You've got this driving, funky bass line that sounds like it was lifted straight from a Motown session. Then, layered on top, are those classic, undeniable Beatles-esque melodies and guitar sounds. And then, soaring over all of it are these elegant Beethoven-level string arrangements. One vocal coach brilliantly put it, it sounds like Marvin Gaye having a jam session with the Beatles and Beethoven. It just shouldn't work, but it does, spectacularly.
And believe me, this incredible innovation did not go unnoticed. This track was a personal favorite of John Lennon himself, who famously called ELO the Sons of the Beatles. I mean, that was definitive proof that Lynne's workshop was capable of producing some startlingly new and exciting musical alloys.
Which, of course, brings us to the architect himself. How on earth did Jeff Lynne assemble these intricate sonic structures? What was actually going on inside that control room, behind the curtain?
Well, no architect works alone. Lynne's indispensable right-hand man was Richard Tandy. And just look at this arsenal. Tandy didn't just play keyboards, he commanded a veritable fortress of them. He provided every texture imaginable, from the futuristic words of the Moog to the earthy tones of the Wurlitzer. He was the master electrician, wiring every single corner of the ELO sound with vibrant color and astonishing depth.
But ultimately, the final assembly always came down to Lynne. And this quote, it reveals his beautiful obsession. He wasn't just a singer. He was a craftsman of vocals, meticulously stacking harmonies, layer upon layer, until they clicked together like the precision gears of a Swiss watch. That massive, choral ELO sound that sounds like 100 singers? Nope. Almost always, it was just Jeff, multi-tracked to infinity.
But this obsession with perfection, this desire to build such a massive wall of sound, well, it comes with its own technical challenges. This immense pressure creates a unique sonic artifact, a side effect that's become a really heated topic among fans in the digital age.
Let's tackle a question that comes directly from the ELO fan community, because I see this all the time. Listeners with modern, high-fidelity equipment often notice something a little peculiar about albums like Time from 1981. It just sounds kind of muffled. So what's really going on here? Part of the answer lies in the infamous loudness war. Okay, think of a song sound like a painting. The dynamic range is the difference between the darkest shadows and the brightest highlights. Heavy compression, which was used to make songs sound as loud as possible on the radio, is kind of like turning up the brightness on the entire painting. You lose all the subtle details in the shadows, and often those delicate high-frequency highlights get clipped off entirely.
But with ELO, it goes even deeper than that. This isn't just a mastering issue that you can fix later on. Jeff Lynne loved the sound of compression. He wanted his songs to hit you like what he affectionately called a big ball of distortion. This means that heavy compression was often applied during the recording process itself, literally baking it into the master tapes. You can't just remaster that out. It's a fundamental part of the original blueprint.
So despite these technical quirks, or maybe because of them, what is the ultimate legacy of this incredible sound machine? How does it hold up today in a world of ones and zeros?
Well, this timeline reveals a slow and steady build. Just notice it took a full 8 years from their debut to finally land a #1 album in the UK. This was not some overnight success. It's a testament to persistence. This was a complex machine that took the better part of a decade to build, refine, and perfect before it really conquered the world. And their legacy was finally officially cemented in 2017 with a long-overdue induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
And the machine's components are still being lovingly repurposed today. Those perfectly crafted hooks are a sampler's dream, powering hits for artists from Atomic Kitten to 50 Cent. And of course, the sheer unadulterated joy of a track like Mr. Blue Sky has made it an essential ingredient for filmmakers looking to inject a shot of pure, uncut optimism directly into their work.
Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought. Jeff Lynne built his sonic empire with painstaking analog tools and a singular obsessive vision. Today, anyone with a laptop has infinite tracks and endless plugins. But does that make it easier or harder to build something so cohesive, so monumental? Could a singular architect ever again construct a cathedral of sound with the sheer will and unique vision of ELO? That is a blueprint worth thinking about.